Hey guys, it's Veda. I hadn't really done a recap of this weekend's outreach events, and I wanted to go ahead and do that. So we had the event on Saturday, and it was good. It was a big mutual aid event, so there were people there from different organizations and individuals with a catered meal, our survival gear and hygiene supplies. People brought blankets, jackets, everything from toilet paper to safe sharps disposal and health advice. And we didn't have as many people show up as normal. Sorry, my arm is tired. Which is kind of the dream. Like, the dream is that these services not be needed anymore. But that obviously isn't the case. What is happening is that King County and Renton, which is where we are, they're doing a lot more sweeping. They're doing a lot more trying to push people into places, and kind of a lot more intimidation by private security services that people are using. So I noticed when I went out throughout the week to give out information that there were a lot more people who felt, I guess, a little cautious about me approaching them. I think they weren't quite sure who I was with or what I was up to, but you can definitely see that people's experiences and just kind of the vibes on the street are changing a bit. But anyway, we had people come, and we were able to give out a lot of stuff, meet a lot of people. Because it was slower and because I had amazing volunteers with me, I was able to leave the table more this time and talk to more people, including the volunteers and the different organizations, because usually we're right beside each other, but I am usually either alone or just with one other person, so I don't get to like talk and get to know people as well as I did this time. So that was refreshing. And we had people come to drop off goods, and one of them was saying how he didn't see the point kind of in what we were doing, or that he thought, well, if you're doing all this, what is the impetus for people to get off of the street? So I had a chance to sort of educate him a little bit and ask him, okay, like, well, what are the programs that you know of? And he would tell me, and I'd be like, okay, well, yeah, that's a great program, but it has a 6-year wait. Or Section 8 housing in Seattle, for instance, and King County in general, you can't just sign up for it based on being qualified. You have to first qualify for a lottery ticket. And then if you get a lottery ticket, you then enter the lottery. And if you're one of the lucky people whose numbers is pooled, you then go on a waiting list, which the last time I checked is around 2.5 to 4 years, depending what area you're in, to actually get into housing. So yeah, there's like a lot of programs out there, and it looks good on paper, but the way that it looks versus the reality is often very different. So we just talked, and by the time he left, he decided he wanted to become a volunteer. And I talked about my own experiences with poverty, and how even now I'm always like one small bill or a couple, sick days away from being on the other side of the table. So it was cool to get to have a lot of different conversations and to do some educating, because our organization actually is classified both as first responders and educators, because my long-term goals include not just survival education, which I do a bit of now, like, survival on the street, but also how to work with the systems that are in place, how to utilize things to get back on your feet to whatever extent you can. And I just want to educate communities about why homelessness occurs, and especially start talking to younger people, younger, even children, about things like building credit and other things that really would behoove our school curriculums to include, to help people sort of sidestep poverty. But that's a long-term goal. And after we cleared up and everyone left, I was kind of the last to leave, and more people started arriving. So I ended up giving out a lot more supplies, but some of the people I was talking to were actually recently released from prison, and they were just talking about the barriers that they're facing with housing. And you know, it's difficult to run if you have a record, and some of them had been jailed back when it was illegal to have marijuana, and they've just now been released, even though it's been legal for many years now here in Seattle. But they're facing barriers because the records are not expunged, so they can't easily rent. And it's just, the system's kind of a mess. And I mean, it's actually a huge mess. And this one gentleman was talking to me about how one day he walked out into the yard at the prison, and he's standing on the steps, and he looks, and over there he sees his nephew, and he looks over here and he sees his cousin, and he sees his uncle, he sees his friends. And he just broke down and he started crying, which is not something you really want to be doing on the steps of a prison. But, you know, it's deep. It's deep how we have a system that chronically tears apart certain families. And if you look at who ends up in prison, it is not exclusively, but largely people without money. You know, and one of them had a public defender who didn't know even as much as the person being defended knew. And when they tried to tell them, hey, you know, there's this thing that you need to say, they were shut down, you know, because who wants to be corrected? But it's somebody's life. So from top to bottom, the system is a mess, and I know that. But it's been a long time since I've had the time to truly connect and just listen to people, listen to their stories. And that's such a big part of outreach, and that's such a big part of what we do, is not to just provide physical survival supplies, but to actually be just a little bit of hope to survive, and just a little bit of time to listen. Because mental health is a survival tool and supply as well. So it was a success in a different way. Didn't get as many people, but got to make real connections with the people who did show up. And that is super valuable, and something I forgot how much I missed it. I forgot it's one of the reasons I have, you know, gone back to school to work on my degree for psych, and to make sure I'm serving less served populations who have problems that are a lot less simple than people think. And I'm just glad I got to do that, and I look forward to the next one, and hopefully more people, but still making those connections. So thank you to everyone who came out. Thank you to everyone who donated. I still have a few bags left, and those will be getting out this coming weekend. I'll probably be going actually into Seattle instead of Renton, or possibly Kent, but I will be out and about. So if you see me, say hi. And that's it. Have a great day.